Hi Capricorn, welcome to your August 2024 horoscope. I need to break it to you, August is not the easiest month. We have one very big aspect, which is a square between Jupiter and Saturn. This is happening on August 19th, but even though it's later in the month, I do think we'll be feeling this energy building up all the way from the beginning. So let's start off by talking about the square, why don't we? A square between Jupiter and Saturn is quite interesting. It's this tension between hope and optimism and patience and hard work. Sometimes Saturn can bring feelings of hopelessness with it. And this is definitely a tension that we're all feeling during this month. Because this is a square, it's a tension that we cannot ignore. So it might be quite loud, it might be quite present, and it might be the contrast between the two might be super extreme to the point where we cannot just ignore them. We cannot shove them under the rug and pretend it's not there. For you Capricorn, Saturn is in your 3rd house while Jupiter is in your 6th house. So you might be feeling quite optimistic, you might be feeling quite hopeful with your health, with your diet, your routine, your exercise routine. Perhaps for the first time ever, you've been able to maintain a really good, solid routine. But at the same time, you have Saturn in your 3rd house. And as a result, you might be finding your relationship with your neighbors and your siblings to be a little bit of a struggle, requiring some time from you, requiring energy from you, patience from you, and that contrast, it's quite big. So from one end, you're loving the ease of your routine, you're loving how in control you are there. And at the same time, there's feelings of maybe pessimism when it comes to your actual relationship to your local environment. And it's quite a big contrast and one that cannot be ignored. So this square is happening on the 19th of August, but let's have a chat about the whole week before. Because actually on the 14th of August, there is a spark that gets the Jupiter square Saturn flame going. And that spark is Mars. So Mars is going to conjunct Jupiter on the 14th. And then on the 15th, the day after, it's going to square Saturn. The way I see this is, starting this whole story of the Jupiter and Saturn square is that on the 14th, you have a lot of hope and a lot of optimism. And that fuels you to take a bold action. It fuels you to do something that you've always been afraid of. And for you, this is probably something to do with your health or with your routine. Perhaps you've always been afraid to join Pilates class, and now you're like, let's do it. I am so confident in my physical ability. I know that I will crush that class. Again, this is just one example. It could be, it could manifest in a different way. However, whatever that bold action is that you're taking, the next day, you sort of get the outcome, but it's not as desired. And this is because on the 15th, Mars squares Saturn. So there's some of that boldness, there's some of that fearlessness that faces the wall of Saturn, that faces the realism of Saturn that says, well, I don't care if you're bold, this is the practicality of it. So you might find that the action doesn't produce the desired outcome. This is going to have an impact on the way you feel. It's going to have an impact on your self-confidence, on your ability to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. And the reason why I say that is because 3 days later, on the 18th, Venus, the planet of pleasure and love, is also going to be in a challenging aspect. On the 18th, Venus is going to oppose Saturn. So again, there is that, facing with reality again, facing the block of reality, Saturn's hard work. And then, of course, the next day we have the Jupiter and Saturn square. One major thing that we need to address about the Jupiter and Saturn square is that it also happens during a full moon. I know, it couldn't get any crazier. Not only do we have the tension from Jupiter and Saturn, we also have the tension from the sun and the moon. They are opposing each other with the moon in the sign of Aquarius. For you, Capricorn, the moon is going to be in your second house of finances. So you might especially be feeling like an outcast when it comes to your financial situation. Maybe you find that you have been spending a lot of money on your health and your routine. Remember, we talked about signing up for that Pilates class. Maybe you ended up giving a lot of money, more than anybody you know would have done. And as a result, because of that, you feel misunderstood, or you feel like you're misaligned with how those around you spend their money. You feel like you don't belong when you look at things from a financial perspective. Keep in mind that all of us are feeling the moon in Aquarius on the 19th. All of us are feeling like an outcast in one way or another. So it's actually kind of interesting, and don't be afraid to touch base with somebody that you trust. Share your Jupiter-Saturn struggles. Let them share theirs, and it might really help with this feeling of being an outcast. There are two more challenging aspects in the month of August, and they actually both have to do with the planet Venus. Because of this, I think, Venus is challenged the whole month. It has these challenging aspects quite a few times. So honestly, I think that a lot of us will be finding it very difficult to just enjoy life in August. We'll be finding it very difficult to enjoy pleasure, to enjoy, food and art and music. We'll be finding it difficult to get in touch with our loving nature towards others and towards ourselves. But those two aspects that I'm talking about are a square with Uranus, which happens at the beginning of the month, and an opposition with Neptune, which happens at the end of the month. So at the beginning of the month, Venus squares Uranus, who is in your 5th house, Capricorn. So there might be something sudden with your hobbies, something sudden with your children. Maybe you're at a party and something unexpected happens there that makes it difficult for you to feel confident in yourself, to feel proud, and to feel a sense of love for life and for yourself. And then at the end of the month, Venus opposes Neptune in your 3rd house. And honestly, with this opposition, there are some dreams that you had around what your local community meant to you, what you thought it meant to belong to this community. The Jupiter and Saturn square has made you realize what types of dreams were actually illusions. They weren't true, they weren't based on reality. And at the end of the month, when that opposition with Venus happens, it'll be time to shed them, but it will also be a time when shedding them is making it difficult for you to, again, enjoy life, enjoy the simple pleasures, to feel loving towards yourself and towards others. But all right, enough with the challenging aspects. Let's talk about, or let's sort of wrap this up with a positive aspect. Let's wrap this up by chatting about the new moon of August. The new month of August happens on August 4th, and it's a new moon in Leo. For you, Capricorn, this new moon will happen in your 8th house. So you might find yourself opening up, sharing intimate parts of yourself with somebody that you haven't done that with before. And you might feel like you're getting the recognition, you're feeling seen during this new moon. Honestly, take that up, eat it up, store it in your reserves because we might need it later in the month, especially when we have the full moon in Aquarius and we might be feeling like we don't belong and like we are outcasts. One word of advice for this new moon is that both Mars and Jupiter are in the sign of Gemini. So there can be a likelihood of overextending ourselves and overdoing it, talking too much, and spreading ourselves thin over 500 different things. So do enjoy the intimacy and the opening up. But again, I would say really be mindful of who you open up to, and don't take it as a sign that you can start telling everybody and their mother about your most intimate, deep parts of yourself. Thank you, Capricorn, for joining me for this horoscope. I hope it helps give you some clarity and some comfort for the month ahead. I know you got this. You are strong and capable. And remember, even though it's hard to see this while we're in the midst of it, this square is here for us. It's here to teach us some lessons. It's here to make us better humans. So honestly, I hope myself, I hope you, I hope all of us can find some reflective moments throughout the month to consider what this square is trying to teach us. Don't forget, Capricorn, I'm giving away a free reading when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you press that subscribe button. Thanks again, Capricorn, and I hope to see you again soon.